Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 3rd June 2017. Today, before going into discussion, I want to give you a small analysis of results this year. I want to put you in a perspective this way. The first is, most of the students who got selected, these are not exceptional. They are just like you and me, but they are focused. And students' priorities in determining their strategy made a big difference. So there is an offensive and defensive strategy. So hold your ground in GS paper, but hit a 6 in your essay, optional, ethics papers. So again, let me give you a comparison between Mr. Muzamil and the two other students who did not clear this exam this year. Muzamil got 22nd rank. He was with me for the last 2 years. I know most of the things about him. At least I believe. I can say that I learned many things from him rather than teaching him. I'll put it other way around. Because for a few years before, his major weakness was mains, optional, ethics paper, essay paper. This year he has dramatically improved in essay, ethics and optional paper. Indeed, he has got the highest mark in anthropology this year. So, understanding where your weaknesses are and working them specifically makes a big difference. And essay and optional, these are the papers which are determining your marks. In GS, with all your efforts, last year we kept a lot of focus on GS. With all your efforts, the marks are increasing only by 20 or 25. But coming to essay, with a little effort of changing and organizing your discussion, you are able to get 25 to 30 marks improvement. I'll give you the example of Satish who got around 60 marks last year. He was able to improve up to 150. And Miss Shilpa, I think she got around 500 rank. She has medical sciences optional. And she was able to go even to 160 plus. So essay plays a very critical and important role in our success. And optional, it is determining our marks to an extent of 70 to 80. And the next is at the interview stage. If you take the third ranker from Andhra Pradesh, I don't have much knowledge about him, but I gone through his marks yesterday. He has got highest marks in written, but interview he got only 165. And if you see Muzamil, he got 206 marks in interview. So, interview is about your attitude, personality, and it cannot be changed in a month, in a year. But however, practice can improve your marks by at least 10 to 15. So let me give you an example of Snehaja, who got 103 rank last year. She has improved almost by 17 marks in her interview. Because many of us have a right attitude required by the board, but we fail to show that attitude because of the reason that we try to structure too much our preparation. Your natural speak, your natural abilities to express your opinions, your nature to converse and make a dialogue, these really make a difference in your interview. This is what my point is. So always keep the notification of UPSC before, go through it repeatedly. Now let's come back to the newspaper today. And from today the newspaper will be regular because for the last 3 days or 4 days, I have got this, I told my aunt there are some rituals to be done. And also the results and all these things, I cannot do that. I was really not able to focus on reading a newspaper. So from today the newspaper will be regular as usual. So the first thing is trumping the climatic exit. Let's start the discussion on this. You know that President Trump has declared that US is going to renegotiate a deal or move out of the Paris Climate Pact. So in this essay, let us see the organization of the essay. So author has divided this into 3 parts. What are the silver linings of these decisions? What are our assumptions? To what extent they are correct? And what are the good parts of this exit? And second thing is, what are the narratives on which these decisions are made, how we can challenge that narrative. And the third thing is, what is the role for India? Now, in this is where he organized his essay. So, in this context, what are the three silver linings he is talking about? It was discussed by European Union that US, instead of totally exiting from Paris Climate Pact, it has to lower its commitments. It means one or the other way it is expected to continue. So, the author says that if that would have happened, it would have been much worse. Because every country will not be very committed to the agreements or intended contributions it wants to make, intended national contributions it wants to make. So it means that if US stays inside, it's like a Trojan horse, which is going to kill the entire climate change pact itself. That is what is the silver lining. And then the second is, US exit reduces the likelihood that Americans will play a destructive role in the further elaboration of the agreement mechanisms. So this is what is the second silver lining. So here it means that these negotiations are important, but transparency is equally important over here. And it means the US and the subnational, or else the states of California and New York, these are talking vocally in support of the climate change pact. So it means entire US is against the climate change pact. It cannot be assumed that way. And US is on a technological path towards alternative fuels, alternative energy. If you talk about Tesla, all these are examples for this. And what is the narrative of Mr. Trump? One thing is unfairness. The deal was fair towards fair towards India, China rather than to US. So if you analyze this fairness from the perspective of historical emissions, US is majorly responsible for the historical emissions that are existing. Entire climate change negotiations have been built on this principle of common but differentiated responsibilities. Mr. Trump has ignored this very fact, and he wants to compare himself on the situation what is existing today on ground. And if you take per capita emissions, India is not even 1/10 of the United States of America. And the second is, clean energy is hurting the United States' economic interests. If you carefully observe, alternative fuels, the technological revolution which is coming up in US is going to create millions of jobs. So in that way, it is going to promote the national interest of the United States of America. And how India has to move forward? India said it is going to move forward with the other countries, either US exists or not in climate change pact. So without US, because US has committed $3 billion to climate change, Green Climate Fund, financial solutions may be a problem. But if all the other nations come together, European Union, India, China, if they come together, they can build a strong understanding to fight the climate change. So that's what India has to believe in. And already you know that India has committed to its solar energy mission, and it is moving forward on those particular lines. And then let's go to the other page. We need Paris is the article. So we need Paris. So what is this article is about? It is again related to United States of America exiting the Paris Climate Pact. So American companies are also opposed to it, because many of the American companies from Tesla, GE, Apple, everyone, they made a shift towards cleaner energy. So I have to speak to the people of Pittsburgh, not to the Paris. That is misplaced statement. And then in developing countries, the poor residents, if you take into consideration, they are going to be hit hard because of the climate change things which are going to happen. And next is, today energy efficiency is a major issue in the world. So the coal energy is not efficient. So that's why the Pittsburgh, where the coal factories, steel factories exist, so it is also moving towards alternate energy. Already if you see Germany has totally moved towards alternate energy. So in this context, what we can say is the energy efficiency may not allow the people to go towards the coal as a fuel, and fossil fuels as a major source of energy is losing interest among the citizens of United States of America itself. And if you come to India, India did not commit much. That's what is the Trump's argument is. If you see India, it has agreed for 35% of a reduction of energy intensity, not carbon dioxide emissions. It is emissions intensity to GDP. So it means how much of the emission necessary to 1% of GDP growth, it will be reduced by 35% by 2030 over the levels of 2005. That is clear commitment which India has given. An entire climate change narrative, it was built on principle of common but differentiated responsibilities, and US expected to respect that. And then gross misuse, it is about preventive detention laws. Now preventive detention laws which have to be used, they have to be exceptional, and they have to justify an arbitrary detention. So in this context, Gundas Act, it is being misused. The Preventive Detention Act allows gives extraordinary powers to executive to detain a person on mere suspicion. So it is being misused under various laws. Wherever the ordinary laws can be applied, the executive is resorting to high-handedness through Gundas Act, PD Act, etc. So again, the language used under this act is very general, providing arbitrary power. For example, Gunda, the definition is not been clear. And let's take Gundas Act says prejudicial to the maintenance of public order. What is prejudice in maintaining the public order is not defined. Rhetorical incantation, what does that mean? So, vagueness is defining all the laws that are providing for preventive detention. That is what is the major problem. And the second is, habitual offenders are expected to be arrested under preventive detention. But most of the cases, even first-time offenders, and to question the dissent and to control the dissent, governments are resorting to PD Act. And PD Act is like a quick answer to their problems or government problems. So that's why it can be seen as a curtailment of freedom of speech. So finally what we can say, see this conclusion very clearly, that we should understand in prevention of crime needs efficient investigation and trial, not draconian laws. Again, my statement is this: subtlety of punishment that prevents the crime, not the harsh laws. So remember that particular point. And journey to recon with, it is about Tamil politics and Karunanidhi's progress. He is the last connect in Tamil Nadu who has got a direct connect with Justice Party, who saw the DK formation of DMK, AIDMK, and how the Indian politics transformed from single party dominant Congress system to development of alternative politics at the state level, and then Tamil Nadu providing for a strong argument in favor of federalism, and Rajmannar Committee, how the president rule has impacted his chief ministership. So if you take whatever has happened in India and India's federalism, he is a witness to that. So that's where we can use that information. So the sequence of events, what is the Tamil Nadu's reaction if you understand? Obviously you can understand the relations of center and the states in a very much different light. Because Tamil Nadu and Kerala, these are the states where the regional parties played a role. With regard to Kerala, it's not the regional parties, but our opposition party has played a definite role. In Tamil Nadu, it is the regional parties that have played or set the agenda for politics. Now let's go to the front page. So here, US exits climate change pact, but India is bound to continue the same. And the next is, I represent the people of Pittsburgh, not Paris. It's not going to hold good. And there is one more article which I failed to provide over here. So let me download that article now. So let us discuss this article. India has 31% of world's poor kids. If you take the sustainable development goals, the very first goal is to eliminate poverty. But India is a home to 31% of the world's poor kid. It means if absolute numbers, India is going to be huge. So what is the organization which is giving this? And on what basis it is giving this? These are the things which we need to understand. Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative, it has given this report. And it is based on the capability approach of Amartya Sen. According to this, India stands around 37th among 103 countries. But in the gross numbers, India is very much high. So it is going to look into the multidimensional nature of the poverty on three things, that is standard of living, health, education. I remind you another point over here. If a generation has to move out of poverty, what is the weapon? That is education. Education changes the poverty or narrative on poverty. That's what we need to understand over here. So India has 31% of world's poor kids with us. So this is what we need to understand here. Now, so as I said to you before, a current affairs closure is necessary. So when you talk about poverty, any question comes on poverty, you are supposed to close your answer citing one or these current affairs. That gives you really a good impact to the examiner. Thank you very much. All the best.